My junior year in high school, I was in Olympian High School, and we were all expected to complete the junior portfolio, which was basically a compilation of different assignments meant to prepare you for life after high school or for college in general. I was cleaning out my drawers a few weeks ago, and I came across one of these assignments, which I have with me today right here. For several of the universities, we had to list them out, and we would list our top choice of majors, potential careers we would enter after high school, and an extracurricular activity, student org, or a club that we would be willing to join if we got into one of these universities. I remembered that I put SDSU, and under SDSU I realized that I had put APSA. So of course I joined APSA my first year, and that led to me running for board my second year. And I'm here now, and I have enjoyed every moment since. Hi, I'm Diana Crystal Magpali. I am now a junior in college, majoring in psychology with a minor in counseling and social change, and I'm running to be APSA's 2022 to 2023 president. After finding this 4-year-old packet, it reminds me that even back then, I knew that I wanted to be part of this organization. It was a club that I wanted to devote myself and contribute my all to. And after rereading this passage here on this paper that high school Deanna wrote, I realized that many of the values that back then me had included are still values that I hold for APSA today and that I want to strengthen and uphold as an organization. For the first few lines, back then, I wrote, "The Asian and Pacific Student Alliance joins as a forum to discuss and deal with problems and concerns dealing with the students and other people in the Asian Pacific Islander community. The concerns are addressed and discussed, especially the issue of underrepresentation of Asian Pacific Islanders." A common vision that I had noticed in looking at past president speeches and also when talking to past APSA boards and alumni in general, which I had also internalized for myself, were a desire to emphasize and strengthen APSA's cultural and political role and presence in the community. APSA has done a great job in creating a welcoming social space, whether it's for individuals of APITA or non-APITA heritage and culture, so that they can come together and acquire a sense of belonging through our org. But considering still that APSA is a culturally based organization with cultural and political values as its pillars, it is essential for an org as large as APSA to educate and influence their members on these topics. For example, last semester, APSA was able to bring back their tradition of holding an annual night market in order to bring together the various APITA orgs for one large event. But I hope to spark further cultural education and motivation on a more personal level. Some opportunities to do this would be through the form of collaborating with other APITA orgs and events and programs so that we could bring them in and interact with them more. Another way would be to have guest speakers and panels to inform and give us knowledge on these cultural histories and stories. A prime example of this was through Fashion Talent Show when we still had it. One of my goals is to bring back Fashion Talent Show because of the fact that it brings light to these cultural stories and messages that we have since lost a little bit of touch with. FTS has traditionally been APSA's take on a culture night that you would usually see with VCN or FCN, and encouraging members to be more involved with this as it relates to APSA helps relate them back to their own cultural stories and messages. Culture is a key component of APSA, so ensuring that we do this helps ensure that we include the vast range of AAPI cultures that haven't been given the proper attention. And through this, we remind them that they are represented in these diverse spaces. Another line that high school me wrote was, "It is also a nonprofit organization that helps to empower, support, and unite the community and give them a voice." When it comes to the political pillar of APSA, historically, AAPIs have been underrepresented in politics, especially in the US. And some individuals in general tend to hesitate when taking a stance or discuss controversial topics. But that's what makes APSA's influence and education on these political topics that much more important, so that members understand that APSA isn't just representing the voice of APSA. We're representing the voice of a whole community. In fact, we're representing the voice of the members within it. When it comes to these matters, I want to use my skills with my counseling and social change minor and from past programs I participated in regards to mental health and conflict resolution when I was in high school as a peer mediator, so that I can reintroduce these pillars as things that shouldn't be scary or worrisome or a chore, These are things that we have to do, but instead we should be looking at these things as things that we get to do. These should be topics that we are proud and confident to be discussing and taking on firsthand. And I acknowledge, though, that this past year, there were no political or cultural coordinators to guide us through this. And while we do depend on these positions to bring attention to these ideas, if we integrate just a little of the politicultural lessons and topics in the little ways that I had mentioned, we will be able to bring APSA stronger through these values and gradually become more comfortable as individual members and as a whole to talk about these more in the future. I know I didn't have any comfort with certain political issues, but even something like politicultural GBM cahoots and discussing with people that I was friends with and became trustworthy with gave me the confidence to speak on and explore these topics myself so that I could facilitate those kind of conversations in my own time and also as a leader. Because in the end, for the current and future members, it's important to know these values because these are some of the foundational values that APSA was founded upon in the first place. For the final line for my junior year, it states, furthermore, bonds can be strengthened despite student differences through this club. I'm not sure if the grammar was right on that, but it was junior me, so yeah. But when I was reading that last line, it had got me thinking that there are always going to be different people with differing dynamics, personalities, and opinions, whether it's on an organizational level, a board level, individual level. And I became familiar with this because growing up, constantly having to move around due to the military, I understand the importance of creating bonds with others from diverse backgrounds. And although it was hard, in reading that, the word that struck with me the most was the word despite. Because on an organizational standpoint, I will be a leader that directs APSA towards a path of success, growth, and innovation despite the obstacles that we may face. On an individual and board level, my goal is to lead members towards their respective goals, towards all of your goals, the people here today, and to foster a connection and devotion to a collective group that goes beyond us as members and students, despite the destructive criticisms from others' views or even our own negative self-talk. I will look after my board members and make it a point to keep APSA board and all the work put into it something to look forward to, despite all the little mini chaoses that life, school, and so on have to offer. With the 50th anniversary approaching this coming APSA year, I also began to wonder how those who came before us took care of and carried on the organization that we know and love today. Because APSA gave me some of the best core memories, friends, and lessons of my life As president, I will continue providing the same excitement and fulfillment that this organization has offered to me, so that future GBMers and board members have it for years to come. My goal is to be a president that doesn't just tell their members to, hey, get up. Oh, it's fine, brush it off, just get up. Wait, how are you gonna get up after they've fallen down? But rather, someone who reaches out their hand, uplifts them, and works with them to clean any and heal any wounds that might have occurred. Help them stand and eventually lead them to take steps forward all on their own. Because while each of us is unique and independent, it is okay to ask and offer help where it is needed. The responsibilities tied to being a board member have often contributed to burnout and stress, and that is okay. But my goal is to put the best interests and well-beings of my members as a priority. Because despite the meetings, despite the formal position titles, despite the procedures, despite the business casual and all that jazz, at the end of the day, we're all just a young, bright group of college students who want to give back and connect to an organization, and connect to an organization and a whole community that has served us well, that has served them well. And my hope is that I am able to serve all of you well. Thank you.